You want to make six figures in life insurance? You want to make multiple six figures in any sales organization, but more importantly, your career? It comes back to three. Hey, welcome to the Insurance Buzz. We are your hosts, Michael and Courtney Weaver. And today we're going to be talking about the number one KPI that you are not tracking in your business that you need to be tracking.
KPI.
Key performance indicator, also known as activities in the insurance world.
All right, let's get into it. We're going to break it down. You should be tracking this. You might be tracking this. You may be tracking this in the wrong way.
Absolutely. The number one KPI. I would ask you, what is the biggest needle mover in your business? What is the easiest way to convert prospects to paying customers? We're talking about the number one thing that is going to help you convert more prospects to customers so you help more people, you make more money, baby. What that is conversations. Conversations, quotes, and defining what a quote is in your business. What is a conversation in your business? What is going to help your team be confident at what they do every single day so they not only hit their goals, but they exceed and crush their goals?
Okay, so why are we breaking this down? Why are we talking about this?
We're breaking this down because, number one, I talk about it in the new book, Quote 3, How to Make Multiple Six Figures in Any Sales Organization. Pick up your copy today. Tap the link below, quote3book.com. But we're talking about this today because everyone wants to make more money, right? Mm-hmm. We want to help more people. We get tired of chasing the little carrot. We get tired of feeling like every single day, at least I do, man, I was super busy today, but was I very productive? Wow, I made 150 calls a day. And I didn't close a single piece of business. Wow, I mailed out 30 quotes today, and I didn't close a single piece of business. Wow, I texted out some quotes today, but I didn't close a single piece of business. You want to know why? Because to actually close business, you have to be on the phone with people asking for payment information. That's why we're talking about this.
Yeah, I think it provides clarity not only from a producer standpoint and being able to track production, but also from a leadership standpoint. Because there's so many things in insurance. Insurance to me reminds me of like a game of whack-a-mole. I remember when we first started agency, I had been in sales my entire life. And you're like, all right, perfect. Here's the insurance game. And I'm like, okay, I can figure this out. And the first day I'm like, oh my God, it is simultaneously balancing spinning plates constantly. Like you are on the phone, putting out a fire, picking up the phone, trying to sell a prospect. I mean, it is like, what is that movie? Boiler Room? Like it is all day long. There's something going on. And I think as we've navigated different businesses in the insurance agency, one of the things that we're always trying to do is how do we get more out of people?
Yep.
And how do we not burn them out in the process?
Which is one of the why we're talking about this today, because that was one of the very first lessons we learned. That was a long learning curve for me because I was stubborn. I just wanted to do it the way that I was taught, the way I was told. And we burnt a lot of salespeople out in the very beginning of our agency because the one thing that we used to hold everyone accountable to was 150 calls a day. Mm-hmm. You got to make 150 calls a day. If you make 150 calls a day every single day, you should get a hold of enough people, convert them into conversations, and then be able to close the business, at least one household a day. Now, you heard that word, conversations, but the problem that we ran into, producers were more focused on the activity of getting the actual calls made than they were actually talking to people to get the production on the board.
Yeah.
We got our activities done for the day. Well, how many quotes did you do? Well, I didn't do any quotes today. I did the 150 calls. Huge learning lesson because we lost our first person 6 months into the business because they said, Michael, this sucks. I'm making calls every single day. I'm not hitting my production. I feel unfulfilled. I got into this business to change people's lives, and I feel like I just come in, smash the phone every day, and I'm not helping anybody. Mm-hmm. Did I learn my lesson at 6 months in? Nope. No. I'm like, do whatever you have to do. You keep making more calls, work more hours if you have to. Like, do whatever you have to do. We have to hit our production requirements. And that means if you got to make more calls, you better make more calls.
I think it's interesting when you look at it from a leadership standpoint because for me, now knowing after, 15
Years.
in leadership and running a business, that whatever you get paid on is what you need to structure your point of focus around. Meaning, whatever gets rewarded gets repeated. So for you, if you are paid based on production, the outcome, not the activity, then that is what you have to focus on. So if you are paid on premium, if you are paid on apps or items, if you are paid on a certain amount of life insurance, that is what you need to focus on. So we would focus on the activity, the calls. But it wasn't driving the outcome that we wanted. So it's, according to the numbers game, let's just do more. 150 is not cutting it. Let's up it to 200.
That's right.
But you're not paying attention to where's the system broken, because there's clearly a disconnect between what I am asking them to do and what I actually want. And what you actually want is production. You want sales.
And look, you may be thinking to yourself right now, Michael, this is a mathematical equation. If I buy 100 leads a day and I mail out X amount of quotes, or I text out X amount of numbers, or I email out an X amount of quotes, it's going to convert at roughly probably a 5 to 10% rate. And who are you attracting? Price shoppers. And we all understand that if they join you on price, they do what?
Leave you on price.
They leave you on price. Like, is this the type of business? Like, look, sure, mathematically speaking, you could buy a absolute shit ton of internet leads. You could make an absolute ton of calls. You could. And you could get production from that. But the number one, actually not number one, a few things that Gen Zs and millennials are looking for in the workplace, in a career, is that it's fulfilling. Is emailing out 100 quotes a day fulfilling? Or is actually talking to people, building relationships, solving problems, is that fulfilling? So when you think about what actually converts, because even when they're ready to buy, even if they are price shoppers, you got to get on the phone with them to collect payment information. Unless they're just buying online, you have no relationship with them. That's not how I want to do business. But anyways, and that's why I believe through all the lessons we have learned throughout our career in the insurance field and the other sales organizations that we have, the number one thing that moves the needle in your business is you defining what a quote and conversation is. And so what a quote was to me and what a conversation is when you get on the phone with somebody, so you have your elevator pitch, you have to intrigue them enough to actually stay on the phone with you. And then you're going to build rapport with them. You're going to find commonalities, family, occupation, recreation. You have to be more than just an insurance agent. You have to be human. That's your competitive advantage. And then we're going to have a discovery conversation with them. What problem do they have? Why are they shopping? What do they look for in insurance besides saving money? Besides saving money. And then how are we going to present to them in an educational, empowering, storytelling way to help them understand what insurance actually does for them and how you're going to solve their problem. And then lastly, asking for the sell a minimum of 3 times. That is the definition of a conversation that converts. That is the definition of a quote. And that is what you need to be focused on every single day to make sure that you are moving the needle in your business, in your career.
I'm going to talk about accountability for a second.
Okay, let's do it.
Because I think this is a topic that I hear a lot from agents where they're struggling with holding their team accountable. They're not getting the numbers that they want, and they don't know how to motivate their team, and they're just trying to put a Band-Aid on a problem. The thing I would ask you as the agent is I would go to your producer, your team member in your office and ask them, what are they responsible for? What are they responsible for on a day-to-day basis? And if they say, I'm responsible for 10 quotes, I would ask them, tell me exactly what a quote is. Because a quote is a fat word. A quote is a word that means different things to different people. And I think when it comes to, I know. When it comes to leadership and it comes to accountability, you cannot leave any room in the gray. You have to be very clear on what exactly is a quote. Because if you're going to hold somebody accountable to something like production, You have to be crystal clear on what exactly the target is. So if you say you have to do 10 quotes a day, you better define what a quote is. Is it a ghost quote? Is it emailing? Is it texting? Is it having 10 different conversations a day? Like, be very clear on what that is. And then when you have defined, okay, a quote is this, if they are not hitting that, you have to adjust what you are tracking. What I mean by that, if they are not hitting the production that you want, but yet they are doing 10 quotes a day, there is a problem. You are not getting what you want because you are not incentivizing what you want. I would adjust what you think a quote is. If you are ghost quoting 10 quotes a day and you're not getting the production that you want, you have to adjust what you're measuring. You have to go, okay, so maybe I'm not incentivizing the 10 quotes a day. Maybe I need to incentivize I'll say this, the 3 conversations a day. Maybe we need to improve the quality of the conversation. Michael's holding up his quote 3 book. It's a game changer. Not to mention your last book, but it is because, okay, I'm going to reference network marketing. I was in network marketing for 3 years. I did it because it was such an industry that had such a stigma that I wanted to get in there and see, like, how do I make sales not sleazy in an industry that typically has a negative connotation around it? And one of the things that I found was when I'm leading, and I had a huge team, is they didn't know what actually moved the needle in their business. They would spend all of this time like servicing and having like, they would post and pray and they'd be like, hey, this is what I do. And insurance agents do the same thing. They're like, hey, I'm an insurance agent. You think telling that to somebody one time is going to make them buy. And it's getting really specific on, are you talking to your ideal customer? That's a whole different episode. That's a whole different chapter. We've talked about that before. But then, are you pitching your product in an educational manner and asking for the sell 3 times? That to me is a quote. That to me is a conversation.
Yep.
A DM to somebody that's like, hey, I sell insurance is
not a quote.
That's not going to convert.
Emailing, not a quote. Not a quote. Text messaging numbers, not a quote. Ghost quoting, not a quote. Snail mail, not a quote. At least to me. Because that is not what moves the needle in my business. What moves the needle in my business are conversations. What moves the needle in your business are conversations. And here's the thing, is if you have a great conversation where you're quoting multiple products, more coverage, understanding their problem that you can solve and having a presentation around education, hey, this is how we're going to solve your problem. This is why we're different. This is what insurance actually does for you. Your closing rate's going to increase. And that's why I go back to the quote 3. If you talk to 3 ideal customers every single day where you're having this conversation, you're going to have at least a 30% closing ratio, which means you're closing a minimum of 1 household a day, which has multiple products in it. A producer that closes 1 household a day is going to be closing more than 60 policies, items, applications, whatever you call it with your company a month at a minimum. You want to make 6 figures in life insurance? Have 3 life insurance conversations a day. You want to make multiple 6 figures in any sales organization, but more importantly, your career? It comes back to 3 conversations a day. And that's why we believe that this is the number 1 KPI, the number 1 activity you should be tracking in your business, in your career, and be holding yourself and your team accountable to.
So good. There's so many things when you're an agency owner and you're a business owner that you're trying to keep track of. For me, I want it to be as simple as possible. I want to have so much clarity, and I want to be able to look at it like a science experiment. Because it's like McDonald's or Chick-fil-A or wherever. You go and you order a number 1 at your favorite fast food restaurant. It's made the same way no matter where you go because they have a consistent process. And that's the thing that we all want.
Yep.
Is we're always looking for like the system or the process. The one thing that you need to pay attention to is your sales conversation. That's where everything starts. And then you can look at it like a science experiment and go, okay, so they're not converting on the initial quote. So there's something that's going on in the elevator pitch. Okay. Yep. Now they're making it to the next stage. Okay. So then you can just track all the way through and you can pinpoint specifically, okay, their closing ratio has gone down. So I need to pay attention to what's happening when we get into the close versus if you're just emailing first of all, you don't know who's opening it, what they're looking at. They're not in insurance. They have no idea what that even means.
Preach.
All they're looking at is they're going, okay, I currently pay $600 for this, and this is $800. I'm not buying that because you haven't had any conversation about what's important to them, liability risk, what we're covering, what this means. Again, they don't know. Like if all you're going to do is email that out, I'm sorry, but you're going to get replaced by a freaking robot. Like why wouldn't they just call a 1-800 number? Let's start having conversations that we can track, that you as the leader can sit down with a salesperson and go, walk me through this entire conversation. When was the last time you sat down with your sales producer and said, sell me, here's all my things, let's have a conversation?
Do that right now, today.
Oh my God, it was my favorite thing. Okay, so I would sit in there, we would be in my office, and I would turn my chair around and I would pick up my phone and I'd be like, ring, 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 let's go. It was so much fun to train.
Do it today.
Because the first conversation you shouldn't be having is, you should not have your first conversation with a customer. Your first conversation needs to be with your team. You need to be practicing. You need to be role playing. I went off on a tangent.
It's
I got all fired
but you
up.
talked about accountability.
Yeah.
And when you're talking about accountability, clarity, confidence, what does someone need to do in your business to be successful every single day? How easy would it be for you to hold them accountable to 3 P&C conversations where they're asking for the sell every single day, 3 life insurance conversations every single day? If you are in the personal line space, focus on auto, fire, life insurance, and you hold your team accountable to that every single day, that will fix your problems. You will crush your goals, they will make a ton of money, and you will help a ton of people out, and you will never have to worry about missing the trip again, not getting recognized, not making the money, not getting the trophies.
Yep.
That's it. And your team knows exactly what it takes to win. They'll be fulfilled in what they do every single day because they are making a difference.
Yeah.
They're having conversations that matter, that fill them up.
Oh, God, I love this so much. I get so fired up about this because I think leaders always have to lead from the front. And I hear agents all the time that are complaining. They're like, I'm trying to get more production here and I'm trying to do this. And I ask, if I were to go to your team right now and to ask them, what are they responsible for? Could they tell me?
Yep.
Like, if they can't, we need to have a conversation about what is important, and then you need to practice with them.
That's right.
You need to lead them. Woo! You and I are getting fired up.
Look, we want you to be successful. Insurance is simple. It's not easy. Sales are simple. It's not easy. It's discipline is the hard part. But what it actually takes to make as much money as you want, crush your goals, is actually pretty simple. It comes back to what moves the needle every single day. What habits do you need to have and do every single day? And then you have to be disciplined with them. That's where the hard part comes in. But what you do every single day is pretty easy. You have conversations with people. You fix problems. You get paid to talk to people. So if you want to have more success in your career, you want to feel more fulfilled in what you do every single day, it's this right here. It's conversations, because conversations convert. And if you want to go even more in depth to this conversation, make sure you pick up my new book, Quote 3, coming out on October 7th. I would love if you pre-ordered it. Click the link below or go to quote3book.com. Other than that, we appreciate you. I hope you got a lot out of today. If you have any questions, text us, 816-727-7610. Maybe you're like, hey, I'm going to go practice with my team member right now. I'm going to go practice right now. Hey, run me through a quote. Run me through a conversation.
Hey, who's getting better today? Who is getting better today? Yeah. You know what I love is that you say discipline is a muscle that we all can work. Mm-hmm. We all have a discipline muscle. Let's go out and work it today. Woo!
That's right. As always, time and attention are by far our most important assets. We appreciate you spending time with us today. Go out and make it great.